So we're gonna be talking about Android phones, of course. We're gonna be doing most of the basic stuff. We'll teach you how to navigate on your device, how to get connected. We'll do some talking about some common apps that you'll have on your phone. We'll go through some helpful settings that you can personalize some information. We'll also have some tips and tricks, and then we'll let you guys practice a little bit to make sure you're remembering what you're learning. So what brings you to this workshop? Do you have specific questions? Are there things that you're needing to learn? You all have Androids, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Kind of, have you used them for a while? Know like some of the basics?
Yeah, I think so.
So if you have questions along the way or stuff isn't making sense, let us know and we can answer that. But otherwise, we'll stick with some of the main stuff here. So today's devices, they do much of the same as a computer. This will work for both phones and tablets that are by Android. If you have like any tablets like that, if you
like
have like
Samsung Galaxy Tab, or most of the inexpensive tablets that you can pick up at Walmart, most of those are Android based.
if you have like an
Or Android based.
If you have like an iPad or something like that, that might be something you'd want to watch our Apple class because that would show you some of the little different settings between Apple and Android.
What about I've got a Kindle.
Kindle-
That's Android.
So
But it can do all of that stuff as well?
it depends on the type of Kindle you have.
Okay.
Are you able to download apps onto your Kindle or is
I've
it
never
just?
tried. I just basically use it for books, download books and
Yeah.
read books.
Yeah, so some Kindles you just can read books. You can't like download apps, but some have more of that compatibility where you can
I'll have
download
to
different
play
apps.
with it and see.
Yeah, if it's ones where you can download apps, you should be able to use this information with that as well. But yeah, there's a lot you can do with these devices. It's just like a computer in your pocket. The main difference between a smartphone and a tablet is that your smartphone is going to be run on your data. So like if you have Verizon or US Cellular, you have to pay that plan that is going to have that data. Whereas with a tablet, you're not going to be connected to data. If you want to access the internet, you have to connect to internet, like free Wi-Fi, or if you have Wi-Fi at home. So that does not use the data. That's the big difference, but they're both touchscreen. They both run generally the same. The primary difference between a mobile device and a computer is the way you get around. So rather than using a mouse and a keyboard, you're going to be using your fingers to tap, scroll, type. You can also use your voice to navigate if you've used that before, like voice commands. That's a super popular thing right now if you're interested in that. And we'll go over that a little bit later as well. An important first part, knowing where your buttons are. Every phone, the buttons change, and as they update phones, they're always putting them in different spots.
Yeah.
So knowing where your phone buttons are is important. Generally, you're going to have, of course, a power button that's going to turn your phone on and off, and then also volume control, navigating up and down. One of the differences between like Apple phones versus Android phones, Apple phones usually have like a switch on the side that turns their volume off, where Androids generally don't have that. You have to actually use the up and down volume button. So if you've had an iPhone at any time, you would notice that that's something that is not on these phones. But knowing where those buttons are is important. Also, charging port. You have to charge your phone. Both phones and tablets are going to have the part at the bottom where you can just plug that in to charge. Nowadays, they are going to having like the same port for every device where, you know, like back in the day, like they used to be really big and they keep getting smaller and smaller. So it's kind of nice now most devices can use that same charger for a multiple amount of devices, depending on how new or old your phone is, will determine what kind of charging cord you have.
Apple devices are even switching over to USB-C, so that's the new standard for most devices. So
Yeah,
if you
that's
have a
small.
newer Android phone, you probably have a USB-C plug-in, is what it's called. But
What's that?
it's
So
just
that's
just what the plug-in that goes into your phone is.
Yep, so that's what you have.
Okay,
That's kind of this new standard.
okay.
It used to be
Um,
Apple and Android had completely different chargers.
But-
They want to make you buy more than
Yeah,
one.
but Apple has moved over to the other side. Like USB-C is so standard that I can charge my computer with a USB-C and my phone and multiple other devices in my house.
I
So
think
it's
everything I have
becoming
now.
universal. It's much sturdier than the old Android plug-in that was kind of slanted on the sides. That one, I think a lot of charging ports got broken and wore out because of that. So now USB-C is a standard.
Unlocking your phone. So the first thing you're going to do to open your phone is to unlock it. This also depends on your settings. When you first get a phone, there's not going to be a password on it. That's something you have to set up yourself. It might be something you already have set up, but you can do it with a PIN, with numbers. You can do it with a password and have like a phrase or words. You can also have your face scanned, your iris scanned, your fingerprint scanned. There's a lot of ways that you can unlock your phone, and it is important to have some sort of password on your phone, because if you were to lose your phone or if someone were to steal it and it doesn't have a password on it, anyone can open your phone and have access to anything that you have on your phone.
Question.
Yeah.
This was my son's and now he's given it to me, so apparently it has it on there already.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if he had it set up, like when you swipe open your phone, does it make you type in the password?
No.
No? So then it's not set up. So that's something
Yeah,
you
you'd
have
have
to set
to
up.
set that up.
And we'll go over how to find in your settings, how to set that up a little bit later.
There's
So
also
then
a
you can-
pattern. You can do a
Yep.
pattern.
And so
Drawing a pattern.
like whatever is easiest for you to unlock it, but it's a safer thing to have that on there so people can't just get into your phone
Yeah.
if you leave it around somewhere.
Like somebody, I mean, if your phone gets stolen, they can still like wipe your device and start over on it, but at least they don't have information to like, if you have passwords saved on there to log into your bank account and things like that, they don't have access to that
Or
stuff.
like if you're
That's
logged
a-
into your email.
Yeah,
or
that's
Facebook,
a
like, they
big
do have to
concern
access
that they
any
would
of
be
that.
able to get into all of those things.
So-
And if they have your phone, they most likely can change passwords because most of the time you have that set up to send a verification to your phone. So having your phone set up with a password is very, very important security wise with all of the things that we do on them now. You definitely want some sort of password on there.
So yeah, once we get to that point, we'll show you how you can do that, and then you can set something up that you can remember. So on your home screen, in general, your apps are going to show up on the middle. When it's first set up, it'll have like the Google bar there. You can always move apps around. You can delete stuff. You can add stuff. A nice thing about iPhones is there's widgets. That is what like this search bar is, or like you can have the time show up or the weather or different things like that. And then this bottom row, that's going to be apps that always show up. So like when you're swiping between the different pages, these ones are going to stay the same. So those are ones that you use a lot. Again, you can change those around, but if you know you're going to be using the phone app a lot, that might be one you want to keep on that bottom bar just so that way it's easily accessed and you're not having to swipe through to find it.
What are the middle and far right?
So this one is the internet app, and then this one's the Play Store, and we will go a little bit more depth about each of those
Okay,
two and what
thank
they do. But yeah, so again, you might have multiple pages, so swiping back and forth to view different apps. Also on the Android, if you swipe up, that's going to show you every app that you have downloaded. So like if you only want like 5 apps on your main page, but want to be able to easily find other apps, just swipe up and that's going to show you everything that you have downloaded.
Yeah. And one of the things I've noticed when I help people with their phones is they'll have like multiple blank pages that don't have any apps on them, and we can show you how to get rid of those.
So yeah,
So that
once-
you don't keep swiping and seeing nothing. Or I've seen people that have like 3 blank pages and then there's 3 apps on the 4th page. But those are
all
things we can help you, clean up and.
So once you swipe up, it's going to show you everything that is available. These are a lot of the main apps that are downloaded onto your phone when you get it. So these are ones that automatically come with your phone. You don't have to download them. They just come with it. So some of the basics are like your phone to make calls, messages to send text messages, email, internet, camera, maps, clock, calendar. These are all ones that they have downloaded to make things easy for you. So another thing, tapping versus tapping and holding. So if you're just wanting to open an app, you tap on it. But if you're wanting to make some sort of edit, you're gonna tap and hold down onto the app. And that's gonna pop up this menu. So then you can either move it around if you want the apps in a different order, or if it's something where you don't need this app on your phone anymore and you want to uninstall it, you can uninstall it there as well. Again, we talked about how apps can be on that home screen. If you're wanting to move it to your home screen to make it easier to find, that's also where you would do that there. So if you're wanting to move anything around or delete anything, you'll tap and hold down onto that app versus just to open it, you'll just tap. Also, swiping up and down, we talked a little bit about that. Swiping up, of course, is going to bring those apps. Also, if you're on a website and you're wanting to scroll up and down to view more on that website, also you'll use your finger for that. You can also swipe left and right. So you can see these little dots down here. That's showing you how many pages there are. So there's 2 dots, so there's 2 pages. And since that dot is filled in, that means we're on page 1. And so if you're wanting to get to page 2, you could swipe and go over to page 2 to view more apps that are on there. So that's how you can kind of view how many pages you have on your phone. If you have like 100 apps, of course, you're gonna have several pages to swipe through.
I have way more apps than my husband does.
So activity 1, locate the power button on your phone and go ahead and turn your phone on. It's not already. Also locate your volume buttons. Turn it up, turn it down, halfway. Make sure you know how to use those.
Now, does that volume control the ringer
Yes.
and if you're listening to music?
So
Yeah, it depends on, so if you're using your phone, like if you are using your phone to listen to a book or music or whatever, it's just going to change the volume for whatever you're listening to. But if you're not connected to or doing anything specific, not watching a video on your phone or anything like that, your volume button's going to control your ringer and like basic notification sounds generally. But if you're on a website that has sound, it's going to turn up the volume for that website that you're looking at.
and if you swipe down from the top of your phone, that's going to bring up your menu, and you'll see that there is a button there with your
For sound,
volume.
yeah.
And so if you click on that, it'll show you whether you have your notifications on or not.
You might have to hold or click.
Let's see.
Yeah. So generally, like all volume, if you swipe down, let's see, you got swipe down twice. And then let's see what whole thing you look at first.
My volume is.
Yeah, but usually there's another control for volume. So that's interesting that I don't, well, for yours, it might have to go to settings. Sound. And so you can go to settings and then sound to get to your volumes. And this shows you your media volume, where that's at, your call volume, your ring volume, and alarm volume. So yours is, do you know what type of phone this is?
Android.
It doesn't Android phone, but yeah, that's just where that's. And so I got to that by swiping down twice and I put it on settings, that little gear.
So this is setting.
Yep.
Oh,
But otherwise, I mean,
Well, I guess this is your volume thing probably right here that you have do not disturb on, that's why I wasn't seeing it, so if we
click
click
on
on
volume.
that, do not disturb is on, off, that's just a basic.
we-
I'm guessing it's a setting, yeah, otherwise you won't hear your phone ring.
Like right now, it's on.
Is that what this is?
It used to have something that would.
Sorry, I need to know. This just somebody told me.
Yeah, so you can tap it to change those settings, so that's like silent, but you can also hold it and it'll bring up
It's,
the settings. So if you hold down on it, then it brings up all your sound
Okay, so-
settings.
is Nokia a Samsung or is that a different brand?
Nokia is its own brand.
Okay, so
But it's
still gonna
Android.
be, still Android, so just a little different formatting, but, so, yeah.
So what,
So then this is where you can change like
Right.
Oh, that's all right. So I just held down on this.
Combine two.
And then that
You can
opens
make
this
it
where you can
bigger.
easily
You
change
can
it to
just
mute
hit it.
if you don't want to hit the
If you
buttons on the
want
side
it-
and
if
that
you
sort
want
of
to
thing.
keep them in the
But
folder,
you
or
can
want
also
to
change
separate.
different
Like if you're
other
going-
sounds and
I'm
things
going
like
to a
that.
movie, I
Yeah.
hit this so it doesn't make any noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can control other volumes and stuff in here too.
Okay.
But that's where you can, like if you wanted to vibrate and those sorts of things, so.
So yeah, anytime you want to
You
move
can
any of
just-
those, if you just click and hold down, you can move it around wherever.
One time that disappeared. I turned
Yeah,
on my
that's
phone
another
and
thing
that
you
was
can do.
gone.
So again, with that, if you hold down on that, you can move it around, or you can see up there where it says remove, and you can remove it. So
Yeah, so if you had it, you could have it in your pocket or your purse or something and it could get like held down and get removed. And so that's something that could make that little widget disappear.
there's lots of times I notice where I didn't lock my phone, and then I'm like accidentally bumping it, like.
And I moved my apps around or an
Yeah.
app is gone, yeah.
And so then how do you see all the apps that you have downloaded?
Remember how do you do that part?
You hit something, but I gotta remember which one it was.
So if you swipe up,
Yeah, you should be able to swipe up from the
There we
bottom.
go.
and that'll bring up all those apps. Also scrolling through a website, how would you do that?
Either up, down, back and forth.
Yep, you'll just use your finger to swipe up and down. So these are some common apps. We talked about how they have a lot of ones that are just going to be automatically downloaded. So these are going to be some of those that we'll go over today. The green button with a little phone in it, that's your phone app. That's what you use to make and receive phone calls. To open it, you'll just tap on that, and that is going to show you something like this. You'll have a little number pad here. That's where you can type in whatever phone number, and then you'd hit the green button to make the call. Otherwise, if you're not wanting to have to type in numbers all the time, you can save contacts. So you'd click on that contacts button, and that's going to show you any numbers you have saved. You can just click on that person's name to give them a call instead of having to type in their number. That makes things a lot easier. There's also this recents button. That's going to show you people that you've recently called. If there's certain people that you call on a regular basis, there's a good chance that you'll be able to find that in there instead of having to scroll through all of your contacts. So just another
Yeah.
way to make things easier.
And this screen generally defaults to whatever you used last on your phone. So if you called somebody from your contacts and then you close the app and then you open it back up again, it will probably go back to contacts. And if you think, wait, I need to dial, like I need to pick a number or whatever, then you just have to click on keypad and that'll bring up the keypad. Or if you're on a phone call and it says dial whatever, there's generally that keypad button that you can hit to get the keypad to pop back up while you're in the call so that you can type something in.
I think we can show that here. So when you're in a phone call, so like with mom here, that's where that keypad
Yeah.
button is right there. So if you do need to type something in, same with like speaker, if you're wanting to make it so it's talking out loud instead of just talking into your ear. If you need to send a message to someone while you're on the phone, you can do that. But otherwise, if you're just wanting to end the call, hit that red button, it's going to end that.
If you need to talk to somebody else about something that you're trying to figure out, you can always mute it and that makes it so they can't hear you. But that has to be white like this. That's how you know that it's muted. Or if they're like, hello, are you there? I can't hear you. Check to see if that mute button has been
Especially when
pushed.
it's touching your face,
Yeah,
you
if
can
it's touching your face.
accidentally punch those buttons.
So if I'm talking to somebody and I get let's say a text, I can check the text while I'm still talking.
Yes.
It's not gonna erase their,
Nope.
Nope.
Yep, that's the nice thing. And
Okay.
Yeah, you can
see,
put them on speaker and then you can look at that text message.
yeah, there's that home button. You can always just hit that, and you can be playing your games, navigating whatever, all while you're on the phone. It's a lot.
sounds counterintuitive to me, but.
Lots of things you can do. So, yeah, you can do more than just talking.
When I'd have hour-and-a-half long phone conversations with my dad, though, having those games was helpful.
I'm sure.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, why does it disappear on the alt?
That's a setting that we can actually play with. So it's how your screen times out. Like everybody's phone has a setting on it that says how long for the screen to stay lit up, and it affects your battery usage. So the longer you have it set for a longer amount of time before the
We
screen
need to
times
set
out,
that.
it's going to it's going to use more of your battery, because if you have it, I have mine to like not time out for like 10 minutes, because there are things that I will do on my phone where I need it to stay illuminated, but that also means I use a lot more battery. Most people have it set like 15 or 30 seconds, or you can go like with a minute or something like that. It just kind of depends on what, but yours seems like it's like 5 seconds or something, which
Yeah.
saves the battery. But then if you're trying to do something, or if you're trying to learn how to do something, it makes it harder.
I can't remember if that's something that we'll talk about in the
But I can
settings or
help
not.
you with it
Because I know we
Me
talked
too.
about it in the
Yeah.
Apple class, but that might have just been a question that was brought up. But yeah, that's definitely something that if we don't cover it, we can show you how to change that.
It's a
'Cause
compromise, because you give up battery life, but it's easier because your phone isn't shutting, the
Like,
screen
it's
isn't
like
shutting
every
off all the
3 seconds,
time.
mine's turning off.
Yeah.
Oh.
I have mine
So-
set so long that I forget that the default is so short.
Yeah. So if you're getting a phone call, it's going to pop up like this if your phone is on. If your phone is off, it's going to take up the whole screen. But if you're wanting to answer, of course, you just hit the green answer button. If you want to decline, you can hit the decline button. But like, let's say you're in the middle of something and you can't answer that call right away. If you click this send message button, there's going to be a pop-up of like, I'll call you later, or like different prompts that are already written for you, or you can type your own. So you can just quickly send them a message saying like, I'll get back to you, like I can't answer right now. So if you're not wanting to just not answer and not have them think you're ignoring them, that is an option that you can do as well.
My phone does not have those 3 little things way down on the bottom.
Mine doesn't.
Yeah, I think you guys just have different phone brands.
Oh, so
Are these apps?
Those are all-
So it looks like this is your.
So that's just easier
right there.
to write.
Okay, but. So. And it doesn't have the 3 dots that shows me the pages.
pages.
either.
Yeah, I think you must just have a different.
It's just that it's a different brand, that it has a slightly different like setup than.
My phone is blue, not green.
So another app that you have, of course, is messaging. It's generally going to look like this with a little text box in it. That's where you're going to send and receive text messages. Tap on it to open it. You're generally going to see something like this. It's going to show you all the messages that you've had previously. If you want to respond to a text you have, like you can see this one, it has that little 6 that's in a blue. That means there's 6 messages that you haven't read yet. So you can click on that to read them and then respond. So again, yeah, you just click on those to respond. But if you're wanting to start a message to someone that you don't already have a conversation with, you'll hit that little conversation button there, and that'll let you type in either the person's name or phone number if you're wanting to start a new message with them. You can see here they have 65 unread text messages. That's a lot.
Sometimes mine looks like that.
There is also the search bar here. So if you do have a ton of different text messages and you don't want to have to scroll through to find a certain either person, or even like, let's say, someone texted you about an appointment, you could search appointment in there and it'll help you find that text message instead of having
Or
to.
if you think, who did I say I was going to have dinner with? You can search dinner and it'll bring up any message that has dinner in it, starting with the most recent.
Just makes things a little bit easier to find instead of having to scroll.
Question again.
Mhm.
Oops. Here's my messages. How do you find if I have some unread or?
I'm not sure how yours show as unread. I'm guessing it would be bold or something like that.
Yeah, they are a different color, so I must have just deleted those.
Yeah, you might have.
Okay.
But yeah, you still have that search button in there that you can search your messages.
Can you delete text?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So generally, if you are wanting to delete like the whole
The whole conversation.
Oh,
Wrong
back to
button.
this. Just wanted to go back. So if you're wanting to delete like the whole conversation, if you hold down onto it, it'll have like something pop up with like a little trash can usually.
Yep.
And then you can delete that, and that's gonna delete all the messages. where if you want to just delete like a text or something like that, if you were to click and open it, again, you can hold down onto just that text message and usually a little thing will pop up where you can select and delete.
Yeah, just remember it's only deleting it from your device. It's not deleting it from the other person's device. So if you sent a message and you delete it and you're like, oh, I messed that up, and you delete it on your end, they still see the message. There isn't a way to like get rid of it. You're only
I
deleting
made a
it from your
mistake. I didn't want
device.
to send that type of. They're
Yeah,
gonna get
you're
it
you're
anyway.
not deleting it from them. You can just reply to them and say, sorry, I sent this message to the wrong person or something like that. But it won't delete it from their device. It's only deleting it from your device.
I can't. Like, if I just want to delete just that one, okay, it says selected. Now
And then you hit that trash can.
Okay,
And then, yep,
okay,
there you go.
all right.
All right. So another important app is the email app that lets you send and receive emails. So your phone is going to automatically have this generic email app. That app can use any email. So if you have like a Gmail or a Hotmail or a Yahoo or anything like that, but each of those companies have their own email apps as well. So if you want to download like the Gmail app or something like that, you can. The nice thing about this generic one is if you have more than one type of email, like you have an Yahoo and a Google email, you can have both of those logged in on the same app and go back and forth between them. So it's just nice to be able to use it for any kind of email instead of having to download an additional app. But you can use either.
Yeah.
We'll
I
just,
generally use the generic phone one for Outlook for like my work email. That's what I've set that up to be. But like my personal one, I have my Gmail app for.
And
I don't see an email on, I'm sorry, I don't see an email on mine.
should you get rid of?
oh yeah, so
Does that
again with
make a
those dots,
balance?
that's gonna be those.
Not necessarily battery. It takes up space in your email. If you have junk that you want to get rid of, obviously, like
This is
deleting
all
it is a
junk.
good idea. And you can delete things the same way as you.
But
It's
like,
like you
yeah,
have,
yeah,
you
seven
downloaded
lines,
the
I really
email there,
wanna
but
do
let's
that.
see if we try to.
But yeah, if you want to
Well, that would've
delete
been
it,
nice.
a lot of times select it at the trash can, you can hit select all.
Maybe
stuff
just
like
So
that.
much
So,
that would do.
but yeah, just be careful when you're doing the select all ones, because then making sure that you're not doing.
So on my computer, I have no.
Same thing with the
email,
trash can.
regular, whatever the heck it's called, things, so.
I'm terrible about deleting emails.
Yeah, hers only has a Gmail. It doesn't have a regular email.
What kind of phone do you have?
Samson,
Oh, that's interesting.
So I wonder, I know like you can disable apps sometimes. I wonder if maybe it got disabled.
My Samsung puts apps to sleep, like archives them or whatever,
If
so.
you haven't used them in a certain amount of time.
Or I think you also have the option to delete that off of there.
So,
So it could have gotten deleted or,
but again, most of the apps work the same. If you have a Gmail account, that Gmail app will work.
well,
Yeah.
my son set most of this up for me and,
I would guess that if your son set it up for you, he probably deleted the generic one
Good.
so
So you
that
have
it
more
wouldn't
than one.
confuse you. Yeah.
Because that I have that same problem where I'll click on one and like one of them I don't have logged in and the other I do. It's
Yeah.
always confusing. But when you have that app open, if you click on the button on the side, it's going to show you all your different folders. So you'll have your generic inbox. That's where messages that you're receiving will go to. You'll also have like unread, but you can also put things into folders. So if you want to delete something, or if you want to like make a folder for like house payments, or I don't know, whatever kind of emails you have.
Vacation, because you've got tickets and things like that.
But yeah, so if you click on any of those folders, that's going to show you what's in them. So if you're just wanting to see like emails you've recently got, you'll click on that inbox and that's going to show you all the messages that you've received.
so I assume eventually you'll tell us, but how do you put something like that into a folder per se?
We could show you
Okay,
afterwards.
all right.
Because yeah, well, we can show you that. But that's just another one of those things where, like, are you talking about email or apps? Like putting email
Well, like
into
you
a folder
said,
or
if you're traveling and you've got the
oh, okay.
ticket information.
Yeah, we could show you how
Yeah.
to create a folder in here.
And
Okay.
if you're interested, again, we have that email basics class that was recorded. That's on our YouTube channel. That'll go more in depth on how to use your email.
Okay,
We don't go super in depth with that here.
okay,
But otherwise, yeah, at the end we can show you how to do
Okay.
that as well. Another browser is the internet. So again, this one called internet, that's going to be your generic one. But if you have maybe like Google downloaded or Safari or Mozilla Firefox, there's a whole bunch of different ones. All of them work basically the same. It's how you access the internet, search websites. The internet one is just nice because again, that's the generic one that's going to come on your phone. If you click on it, it's going to show up at the top where you see this www website. That is where you can click in to either type in a website or to do general searches. So if you know you just want to search libraries, you can search library and it's going to show you all the different results there. You can also, so here where you see that little square and it says 53, that's how many tabs you have open.
And it could be at the top. Some of them, this little tab thing is at the top and some at the bottom.
But that's how many tabs you have open. If you're not using those tabs anymore, it's good to delete them because it's going to make your phone a lot slower if you're having all of those running at the same time. Or if you go to open it up and you knew you had a page open and you don't see it, clicking on that will show you some of the previous tabs you have. So it might just be that it's hidden back there. So it's important to check that and see if it's back there.
I have a lot on a regular basis. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I'll close like 50 things.
Because especially like if you click a link like in your email or some other app, it's gonna keep opening up new tabs. And so there's sometimes where you don't even realize it, but you'll have a huge amount of tabs and it's just Xing out of
And
those.
5 are the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because just like even on your computer, sometimes you'll have so many, just can make things a little bit slower and hard to keep track of. Also, we have the camera app. That's going to be this red icon up here. Click on that to open. So here in this box, that's going to show you what you're taking the picture of. So if you don't see what you're wanting to take a picture of, you'll have to readjust, of course. Down here, this little bar, you can see now it says photo and that's highlighted. That's because you're taking a photo. But let's say you're wanting to take a video. You can click on video. Otherwise, there's usually options for like panoramic photos. Those are like those photos where you like move your phone along. There's a bunch of different.
Slow motion.
Yeah.
And depending on your phone, there's like usually a slow motion app or like a fast forward kind of one. There's all different settings like portrait. It just depends on your phone. But some of them have lots of options here and some of them don't.
And so like if you open up your camera and you're wanting to take a photo, but for some reason every time you hit it, it's recording a video, checking there and making sure it actually has photo highlighted. So that way you actually can just take a photo. When you're wanting to take the photo, you'll click that circle button down there and that'll take the photo. There are additional settings up here. You can see like this button right here, the little lightning bolt, that's going to be your flash. So if you want to turn that on and off. This little like clock button, that's like a timer. So if you want to have it like count down, so you can set your phone and then like run and stand in front of it and have it take your picture, you can use that countdown there. This 1:1, that's changing the size of your photo. So if you want it to be like a square or a rectangle, depending on what size photo, you can edit that there as well. Once you have taken the picture, you'll kind of see down here in the corner, it gives you a little view of what the image is. If you click on that, that's going to show you the picture. Let's see. Oh, I have all those buttons. So once you click on it, it's going to show you the picture there. And then that's where you can make edits down here. So let's say you really like this picture and you want to be able to easily find it. If you hit that heart button, that's going to save it to your favorites folder. So instead of having to scroll through all the pictures you have, you can just click on that folder and easily find that. The little pencil there, that will edit your photo. So if you're wanting to crop it or draw on it or change the color of it, that's where you would do that there. If you're wanting to share that photo, if you're wanting to text it to someone or email it to someone, you'll hit that button. And then if you just want to delete it, hit that trash can and that will get rid of that photo.
question.
Yeah.
On the share, I can do one picture at a time to one person. But if I want to send it to my 3 kids, I'm confused.
Then you can do that from your text messages. Like if you have a group text that already has all 3 of them in there, you could send it to all of them at the same time by attaching it to a text message and sending it that way.
So it would be a new text message, or is this something you would have in your?
It depends.
contacts
Do you
list?
have all of them in one text message? Like, have you ever sent a text to all of them at the same time? Because if you have, then you can just open that one up and send the photo out that way. But if you haven't, you'd want to create the little group where you add all of them, and then you can put that photo in there and it'll send it to all of those people
So do you just put their names in there in a group as a contact?
as a new message.
So like if you were to open up your text message app.
What does that mean?
That generally
So
is like a
let's say
Zoom.
this, you have a group chat
So
here
that's
already.
like 2 times.
So that's already
one
created
time.
to go to all those people.
Sometimes you have
So you would
options
just
like
have
that
to
that
click on that to
recognize
open it.
faces.
But otherwise, if you're
Sometimes
wanting
if
to
it
start
sees one
one,
face, it'll
so
show
like,
like one and it's
it's
zoomed
just
in
like,
a little bit
let's say
more.
one
And
thing
sometimes
them,
if it sees
but then
more faces,
also
it'll zoom out a
them,
little
you
bit to
would
get everybody in there.
attach all of them there.
But yeah,
So
that's
then
for
it's more than
on your
one.
phone. That's
Okay.
just a zoom.
And then,
zoom out. And
so
then
you
this
see,
will flip it if you want
there's both the
to take
camera
a
button
selfie
and that
versus
little image button.
taking a photo
Yeah.
with
If you're
your
wanting to
camera.
take a photo to send to them, you'll hit that
Yeah,
camera
I've
button.
done that.
But
That's
if you're
pretty
wanting to
boring.
send them a photo already taken,
Mhm.
you'll click that and then you can select
Right.
whatever
I'm always
photos you want.
afraid
That much I can do,
Hit
but
the
at the
button
time,
and
but
everything's gonna disappear.
But yeah, so it just depends on if you already have a group message or if you need to create a group message.
okay,
So,
so I would need to create one.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. Another important app is the map. So if you're wanting to navigate from one place to another, there is that maps button. And again, this is just the generic one. I mean, there's like Apple Maps, Google Maps. I think, is it Waze or something? I don't know. There's a whole bunch of
It's
different
prob-
ones that you can
Google
use.
Maps is probably the standard.
But yeah, so any of them work. This is the one that's going to come up with your phone. It has this little like location blurb on it. So when you open the app, this is generally what you're going to see. Up here, you have the search bar. If you click into that, that's where you can type wherever you're wanting to go. And you can be as general or as narrow with that as you want. So like if you're wanting to search libraries, you could just type libraries and hit search and it's going to show you all the different ones in the area. So especially like in Sioux Falls where there's more than one library and you're not sure which one you're wanting to go to, just putting libraries will show you all of them. Where if you know specifically that you want to go to Yankton Community Library, you can type that in to make sure you're getting that specific library instead of seeing all the other ones that are in the area.
And even like, so you can just hit restaurants and it'll pull up restaurants. But if you know, I don't want a sit down restaurant, I want fast food, you can search fast food and it will bring up the fast food places like McDonald's and things like that. So you can get more specific or you can click on these things here. And there's usually a swipe where you can see more options too. But it just gives you some generic things. Like if you're on a road trip and you know you need gas, you can just hit gas and it will show you the gas stations that are close by.
Just makes things a little easier for you. And also this blue dot right there, that's you. So wherever your blue dot shows up on your map, that's showing you that's where you're located now. So making it a little bit easier to know where you are and what's around you. Once you have searched something, so like in this case, they searched the Harold Washington Library, it's going to show you how to get there and also where it's located on the map. So you can kind of see some of the things that are around it. But if you're wanting to start that navigation, you'll hit directions. And so then it's going to show you how long it's going to take to get there. You can see here this little car that's showing you that's going to take 15 minutes or well 14 minutes if you're going to drive there. But let's say like you need to take a bus or you want to walk, or usually there's an option for biking. Clicking on those, it's going to show you how long it would take there. And it's also going to change that navigation a little bit. Because of course, if you're driving, it's going to show you the roads to take, where if you're walking, it's going to show you like sidewalks. So depending on whether you're driving or walking, and that might be something too, if you accidentally hit walking and you're like, why is it telling me it's going to take 2 hours to drive there? I know it's right across the street. Double checking to make sure that you do actually have car selected. So it'll give you that route.
And something else I'll point out, just because it has happened to me, if you're really close to a place, but you don't know that you're really close to a place, it will probably default to walking. Like I've been in a city that I wasn't familiar with. We searched up a restaurant. We're like, yeah, we want to go there. We pulled it up and we're like trying to figure out the navigation. And it's trying to tell us to go this way on a street when it's a one-way street going the other direction. We're like, oh, it's on walking. It's telling us how to get there because it's so close. We don't need to drive a car. So that's the other thing. Most of the time, walking shows up as dots versus a straight line, or like a dashed line. So that's also a hint that you've got walking pulled up versus driving.
Another thing that's really interesting with these, so you can see that this line is mostly blue, but you can see that red there. That is generally meaning that there's traffic in that point. So like especially if a car crash has happened recently or it's just a busy part of the day, it'll show up red because that's just a generally busy area. So kind of letting you know that it might take a little bit longer than normal. You're having to pass through that.
And it'll use yellow sometimes too if traffic is slowed, especially if it's at like a traffic light. That might show up as a yellow area if that area is kind of busy. It's not stopped or anything like that, but traffic is maybe just flowing a little bit slower than normal.
Because yeah, you can actually see here this little, oh, go back.
It was saying that there was an accident. Somebody
So
had
yeah,
reported
that little
an accident.
circle there, someone said that there's an accident there. And so you can kind of see that information. So if it is something where you're like, oh, I'm gonna turn and take a different route, then instead of going through that street, since you know it might be a slower.
Hey, I was in Sioux Falls, so I don't know Sioux Falls, so I hit my map thing and it took me the wrong way. Does that happen often?
Not usually. One of the things that you can do is so sometimes it takes you a way that you wouldn't normally go because of the settings that you have set up in your map. It very rarely takes you to the wrong place unless that place has like changed recently. Like, oh, this restaurant was here, but it's not there anymore.
Street where there was nothing. There was a new street being done. So that's probably.
Yeah, that's probably why. And you can report that. Like if it didn't give you good directions, a lot of times, like once you get there or once you go to, like if you try to exit out of it, it'll say like, how did we do? And I have used the setting before where I gave it a frowny face because it did not take me where I needed to go, or it took me a way that was not very user friendly. So I have definitely done that before. Just one other symbol you might see that sometimes it shows up, it looks like a little radar gun, and that's somebody has reported that there's like a speed trap there. So that's something else that is
And usually
kind
it'll
of
say that
helpful.
aloud too. It'll be like, a speed trap is located ahead.
Yeah. And those are
Not that any of us speak.
Yeah, but those are things generally reported by users. Like
Sure.
you're a passenger in a car and there's an accident, you can easily, punch in your phone and notify it, and it helps everybody.
Mhm.
So it's kind of nice in that way. I will say when I go to Minneapolis a lot and I would rather not drive in Minneapolis. So I use public transportation. It is great at telling you like what like air rail line to get on and when to switch and when to get off. It will run you through all of that. So it tells you like it will walk you through how to get to the station, and I stay at a hotel that's right next to a station, and then it will tell you, you take this red line to here, hey, get off here, and now you're going to switch over to the green line. Like I've used it and not ever gotten to the wrong place because it's really good at navigating you through public transportation, which I think is really, really nice. And I've used it in Washington, D.C. for public transportation. I've used it in Minneapolis a lot. But yeah, it's really good at helping you get where you want to go using that public transportation. Because I think this one is bus, but there's also one for like air rail and subway that it's the same.
So yeah, and then again, if once you want it to start, you do have to hit that start button, and that'll actually start that navigation and give you those directions. Otherwise, there are a ton of different kinds of apps. So if you're wanting to play games, stream videos, stream music, like do health and fitness, weather, and those are all things that you can download if they aren't already on your phone. And so to download any new apps, you'll want to go to this Play Store. It's got kind of like this triangle on it, and that is where you go to search and find apps to download. So if you click on that app, it's going to kind of pop up like this. There's going to be a general search bar up there where again, you can either search like by a narrow topic, like let's say you want solitaire, you could type that in and that's going to show you all the options. Or if you're just wanting like games in general, you can type that in there. So being as broad or as narrow as you want with that. Down below, it's also going to have some options narrowed down for you too. So you can see it has a games option if you're just wanting to browse through different games that are available, or like movies and TV, books. So there's a whole bunch of different apps. You can see here it says recommended for you. So based off what kind of apps you generally download, it's going to give you a couple options that it thinks you'll like. So if you're just wanting to kind of browse and see what apps are out there, you can definitely do that. Again, if you know what app you're searching for, type that in and then hit search. So like in this case, we're searching for a dictionary app. So once you've searched it, a whole bunch of options are going to show up here. You can see some of the, like the star there, that's showing you average ratings. And then this number next to it, like where it says 10 million, that's how many people have downloaded. So you can see how popular these apps are. If you're wanting to see a little bit more information about the app, if you click on the app, it's going to give you a whole bunch of information here. So again, it's got those reviews and those downloads. This E for everyone, that's going to show you age ranges. So who is the app good for? I think with this dictionary app, it's good for anyone. Any age can download it. Like especially sometimes with games, like if there's more violent games or stuff like that, like if you're wanting to download a game for your grandchild or something, you might want to look to see who it's rated for.
If it has like a T for teen or M for mature, things like that.
So let's say you're reading a book on your phone and you want to look up the meaning of the word. If you go to the dictionary, are you going to lose your page on your book?
You shouldn't. You can navigate back and forth. If you were to, I guess it kind of depends on which app you're using, but most reading apps are going to save where you left off. Like at least with like our Libby app, if you use that at all, it's going to save where you left off. And also, so long as you're not actually completely closing out of the app, just switching to a new page, that app is still open
Okay.
there in the background.
I'm
So
still a little leery about when you said that you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And so it lets you run a whole bunch of things at the same time. So
Okay.
usually not anything to be too concerned about. Also, there's all these images here. That's going to show you kind of what the app is going to look like. Like if you want to swipe through and kind of see how it's set up and if it is what you're looking for. But again, one of the most important things is to look for that star. Because if it has 1 star out of 5, you know, this app probably isn't going to work very well, isn't what I want. So making sure to check that. Also, you can see here, it says, it has this green button that says install. So that means that app is free. You don't have to pay for anything. You'll click on it and it's going to download it. If instead of saying install, it says like $4.99, that means you have to pay for that app, which that's something, so of course look out for. If you're not wanting to pay for that app, don't download it.
But also pay attention if there is a price on it. Like for example, I have an app that every year I'm charged $5.99 for it. It's very good app and I'm happy to pay that, but it will tell you that if it just says $5.99, that's how much it costs to download it. Some of them say like $5.99 update yearly or something like that. So you know up front, like this is something I'm going to keep paying for versus I'm paying for it once.
Also, the super tiny print here where it says in-app purchases, that's also important to look at. So like this app itself is free, but once you're in the app, there might be things that you have to pay for. So like some apps, you can download the app, but to use it, you'd have to pay like a subscription. Or like sometimes with certain games, you can play a certain amount of lives, but if you want more, you'd have to pay for more. So knowing whether or not it's going to be completely free or just free to download, and then you have to pay once you're in the app.
Or if
So-
you don't want ads, a lot
Yeah.
of times it'll give you the option to pay to not see
Yeah,
ads.
because it also says contains ads. So just being aware that just because the app itself is free doesn't mean it will be free to actually use. So
And I'm
keep
sure the app about no ads is probably another yearly fee.
Yeah, and a lot of times it is, or sometimes a monthly fee.
Oh my.
Yeah.
yeah, it really depends. I mean, they're gonna do anything they can to get money from you. So
Yeah.
it's important to keep that in mind before you start paying for something. So let's say you download that app and now you realize, oh, I don't like that app, I want to delete it. Again, hold down on the app and that menu will pop up, hit uninstall, and that will delete it off of your phone. So that way it's not taking up space. Like especially if you think you're really going to use it and then you realize, oh, I'm not, or that wasn't what I wanted. Super easy to delete and get off of your phone there. So we'll do activity 2 here. So what app would you use to send an email?
The messages.
So not
No.
for email.
Yeah,
Not
that
the
one's
email, that'd be
text.
texting.
Yep.
So probably the
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one that looks like an
Yeah, 'cause
envelope
it says
there.
email there.
Yep. Good question. What about searching the web? Which app would you use to search the web?
the internet one.
Yeah, the internet app. What about to send a text?
We already did that.
Yep.
Message.
Messages. What about to record a video?
Way down on the bottom.
Well,
Nope,
so
that's
this
a
one,
different app, yeah.
that one is actually like a FaceTime app where you can video call people.
Can't see what it says under it.
Oh, it says Duo. That's the name of that
Would it
company.
be settings?
Nope. It would be a camera.
Camera.
You can take pictures
Oh.
or take videos with that.
Okay, there you
So,
go.
what about to make a phone call?
The phone.
Yeah, the phone app. So, let's say you're in this app view. How do you get back to your home screen?
Get the little V upside. The V one.
So that
Yeah,
will
sometimes
take you
that'll
back.
take you back.
Otherwise, that will, the middle button, that's always going to take you to your home screen.
Okay.
So either one works. So getting connected, we talked a little bit earlier about having data versus internet. So again, on your phone, if you're paying like US Cellular or Verizon or anything like that monthly, you're going to have data. And sometimes, I think nowadays, a lot of times data is unlimited, but not always. Sometimes you have a certain amount of gigabytes that you have each month. And so then you're going to want to connect to Wi-Fi. And again, like we said with tablets, those don't have data, so you'll have to connect to the internet. So sometimes, especially if you have limited data, if you're not wanting to drain that data, if you're in a place like your home or a public location like the library where there is Wi-Fi offered, connecting to that Wi-Fi so you're using Wi-Fi instead of your data will help save some of that. Because even with unlimited data, once you use a certain point, it's going to slow down, and so it won't be as fast. So connecting to that internet can help make sure you're not using up.
Or
a
if
lot of
you're
that.
like really close to Canada, they're like, you said you would do international. I'm like, no, I didn't. But we were close to the Canada border, and so it was kind of bouncing back and forth. So if I would have like shut off my cellular, I wouldn't have had to worry about that. Not that I would have a Wi-Fi connection there, but if I was at a restaurant, I could connect to their Wi-Fi, so I wouldn't worry about bouncing off of
So
Canada
anytime,
towers.
if you're lucky enough to go to Europe or some other country that's not in the United States, you're doing internet or not internet.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
that's
would.
something you'd have to talk
Yeah,
to your provider
Okay.
about too, what kind of fees or
Okay.
Yeah,
stuff that
but
they
if
have.
you have no intention, if you just plan to leave off your cellular service the whole time that you're there and just use Wi-Fi, a lot of times that's okay, and you can connect using Wi-Fi. But a lot of like Verizon, you can sign up for like a international plan for a month while you're on vacation or something like that, just so you have that availability.
Is that just for phone or does that include texting?
It usually includes like your data and all of that stuff. It really just depends on the company and what you sign up for.
Just curious.
Well, there's one called WhatsApp or something.
Yep, and so that's an app that you can download, and that's another texting app. That's one that instead of using your data, that will use Wi-Fi to send it. So, like I know sometimes, like if you have an iPad or like if you aren't paying for a service 1 month, like if you canceled your bill or something, you could still use it like a phone using those apps and using the internet instead of data. But yeah, it's just a different app that also does messages. So just a little bit different than your normal message app. If you're wanting to connect to Wi-Fi, you would click the settings button, which is this gray button with a cog on it. And then you'll see it'll say connections, or sometimes it'll say Wi-Fi. But if you click on that, it's going to show you all the Wi-Fi options that are available. So like in this case, there's 3 different options. You can see this one here at the top, it has a little lock icon next to it. That means you're going to have to use a password to sign into it. Where this bottom one says sign in required. So to connect to the internet, it'll be free, but then it'll usually have like some pop-up. So like if you're to connect to our Wi-Fi, it's called YCL Patron, it'll have that sign in required where once you click on it, a pop-up's going to pop up asking you to agree to our terms. So just an extra step there. Where this bottom one doesn't have a lock or a sign in, so you can just connect to that one without having to type anything or agree to anything. Especially like if you have your home internet, you're usually going to have a lock on that so your neighbors or anyone around can't use your Wi-Fi and drain it. Or like sometimes if you're at a coffee shop or something, they'll have a lock, but they'll have like a password for you. So that way they know that. But just making sure to double check to see if you're going to need a password or not. Because of course, if you don't know the password, you won't be able to connect to that internet. Will make things a little difficult for you. So make sure you trust the network before connecting to it, especially with public Wi-Fi. If you connect to it, it can be easier for people to get your information. So not wanting to like go into bank information or different stuff like that while you're connected to a public Wi-Fi, because there is an easier chance for people to access that information. So make sure you trust it before you connect. And try not to send private information over. Again, like I said, with banking, you don't know who might end up getting access to that. So sometimes if you're wanting to do something really private or personal and you have data, using your data instead of connecting to the internet might be a smart option for you. And then if you're sending personal information, make sure that website is secure. So when you type in a website, at the beginning, there's going to be that HTTPS, making sure that that S is there. That S means it's secure. If it just says HTTP before that www dot whatever, that means it's not a secure website. And there also will generally usually be like a lock icon in front of your website. If there is a lock, that means it is secure. If the lock isn't there, then it's not. And so kind of keeping in mind, like especially if you're doing online shopping or something like that, where you might give credit card information, making sure you know that that's a secure website, that's important.
So you said, personal information, but if you're using your Wi-Fi at your home, you should still be perfectly safe.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is just public. So like
Okay.
if you're like at the mall or something and you're just connecting to a random Wi-Fi there just because you need some Wi-Fi,
Mhm.
just
Okay.
trying to be safe with those.
Yes, but your Wi-Fi at your house is generally more secure.
Yeah, and then making sure to set up a password for your home networks to block intruders. So if you don't have a password on your home internet, I would reach out to your internet provider to get that set up. Because again, anyone can access that then, and then they would be able to get your information easier if you don't have that Wi-Fi or password. But then also draining your Wi-Fi. Like if you have it open and all of your neighbors are connecting, it's going to be really slow. And so if you don't want anyone being able to connect to it, having that password is going to make things a little bit easier for you.
Being married to an IT guy who is all about security, like we have a guest Wi-Fi at our house. You can't get onto my regular Wi-Fi at the house because he has it locked down. And there's a password for the guest Wi-Fi too, but that's something that we will share with people versus our home network one he won't share with anybody because he wants to keep it secure.
All right, activity 3. So navigate the available Wi-Fi networks on your device. What steps do you take to get there? So how do you find Wi-Fi on your phone if you're wanting to connect?
Go to settings.
Settings.
Yep. Let's say which ones are that you can see that are secure. If you're to look at the ones that are available right now, you can
Wait.
see.
It says HTTPS.
So that's for websites, not
Okay.
for. So
Okay.
if you were to open up the Wi-Fi networks and see all the ones that are available, because we have a bunch that are available here in the library. So which ones are you seeing? You should have like. So if you go to your settings. To connections.
Connections. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth airplane mode.
So if you click on it,
Excuse me.
and then if you go to Wi-Fi. So you can see we have a bunch of different ones there.
Okay,
Which ones do you think?
you said YCL patron, right?
So that's our one that we
Public
use.
Wi-Fi.
But you can see so like this lock one there.
Oh, okay.
That's generally going to be the most secure, like if you're at home and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But that one, of course, you would need a password for. For us, we have that YCL patron one. That is the one that we have. for
It's
Patron.
it's just a public one, so anybody can get on there.
And so that one, once you connect to it, it's going to make you agree to our terms. So of course, so what is one that is public? If it just kind of said YCL patron there. That's going to be one that's open to the public. And so, again, most Wi-Fi, at least for public ones, they're going to have some sort of name. So like if you're at Muddy Mo's, it'll usually say like Muddy Mo's Wi-Fi or coffee shop Wi-Fi or something like that. So kind of knowing whose Wi-Fi you're connecting to.
Okay.
Also, just for your information, because some people like to be kind of funny with their Wi-Fi networks, if you like pull up and try to look at the Wi-Fi and it says like FBI, whatever, somebody probably named their Wi-Fi network that. It's not actually the FBI somewhere close by. It's something that people do just so you're aware that you can name your home Wi-Fi whatever you want generally.
And knowing that,
Presumably the FBI is too busy to take it.
Well, and they wouldn't name their Wi-Fi FBI.
Exactly.
and knowing that whatever you name your Wi-Fi, anyone in the
Anyone can
area
see, yes.
So, like, if you were to put like your first and last name there, like anyone who's nearby would be able to see that. So maybe not naming it something that you wouldn't want people to
Yeah.
see. So you're relaxing in a coffee shop and you want to do some personal tasks on your phone. You see this list of Wi-Fi networks. Which one would you connect to?
Probably my Wi-Fi. It
Well-
looks like it's safe. Well, from here, it looks like it's a safe one.
Well,
It's got
but
a
then
lock.
also, so it has the lock, and so that means too that you would need a password for it.
Okay.
So if you don't have that password,
Okay,
then you wouldn't be able to connect to it. The same with these ones. There isn't a, or there is a lock, so you wouldn't be able to connect to it if you didn't have that password. So for like this coffee roasters one, I'm assuming if you're at a coffee shop, that's probably the name of that coffee shop. So this is probably the Wi-Fi that they have for you to use at their site. So that'd probably be a good one to connect to if you're just wanting to access the internet. But like, let's say you're wanting to do online banking at that coffee shop. Do you think it's a good idea to use that Wi-Fi?
no.
No. So in that case, you'd want to just be using your data and you wouldn't want to connect to the internet. But again, if you're just wanting to do some browsing, maybe look through different websites or check your Facebook or anything, using that public Wi-Fi will not be a problem for you. So in your settings, that is where you can change any settings within your device, personalize things. That's where you would set up like your lock to unlock it. Also different biometrics. So that would be like speak to text, or if you want to make things bigger or smaller on your phone. So there's a whole bunch of different preferences that you can edit in there. So when you open your settings app, like as we said, we were just in there for the Wi-Fi, but there's a whole bunch of other things down here. You can see like your sound and vibration, notifications, wallpapers. So scrolling through and looking through those, we'll go through a few of them, but if you're interested after the class, you can always go through and look. There's a bunch of things that you can edit and change within your phone. So starting with unlocking your phone. So I know we had talked about that with some people here. So in that settings, there'll be a button for lock screen. Once you click on that, it's going to be here. You can see lock screen type. That's going to show you what you have set up right now. So if you don't have a PIN set up, it's going to say like none. But in this case, there's a PIN and your fingerprint. So if you're wanting, do you guys both have like a password on your phone, or do you want to
I
add?
have Face ID.
Would you want to add a password to your phone at
Well,
all?
this sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
So if you go to your settings here,
So this,
right,
probably security.
let's see, let's scroll down.
Oops, to my
So if we click lock
And
screen
so
there,
it says that you
So
have
if we do
none,
the lock
so you
screen
can pick
type up
pattern,
there.
pin, password. You could pick
So,
whichever one of
a
those you would
pin,
prefer.
that's gonna be
So
like a
pattern,
4-number,
And if you want to
um,
like
code that you would
letter,
type
it's
in.
generally a grid.
Password, that's where you would type in like a word or phrase.
And then you can. you
Pattern,
generally
it's
don't
gonna
want it to be
have you
super long,
create
but
like a
you have to
pattern.
type to get into your phone.
Or then you could have Face ID where it's gonna do
I
your
won't be able
face,
to use my
or
phone
fingerprint,
unless I
it's gonna do your
type it in.
fingerprint. So whichever
Essentially, yes, you can still answer
type you-
calls and stuff
like
like
which
that, but
one
this
is
is what
in
you're
a code or a
putting in
password.
Wasn't what I
for
wanted.
what you would want to
So yeah, you hit
use
cancel
your.
it. So depending on
So
which,
do you have to have, like on the pin, you have to have a minimum amount of
I think
letters
it's
or numbers?
It's usually
I think it's
icons,
4.
For PIN and password, it's usually 4.
4.
But you want it to be something that you remember so you don't get locked out of
Yeah,
your
yeah,
phone.
yeah, well,
So yeah, you can click and set one up if you want to right now, but again, just make sure you remember what it is.
I'll wait till I get home and see if
There
I
you
can,
go.
if I can get lost. Now I'm gonna come down here and say, you guys screwed me up.
So we all just did that. So many apps require regular updates, and if you don't do those updates, sometimes the apps will stop working. So you want to make sure you're regularly having those apps updated. That is something that's going to be in that Play Store where you download those apps. If you click on the Play Store, up here you'll have like a little D, and whatever your first name, it'll have
Mhm.
your letter. And so then you would click manage apps or devices, and here it's going to show you whether you have apps that need to be updated. So in this case, it says all apps are up to date, and a lot of times phones nowadays have it set up so it'll automatically update apps for you. So it's nice so you don't have to do that. But if for some reason like an app is glitching or isn't working, it might be good to check to make sure you have yours updated, because otherwise it'll say like maybe like 12 apps need to be updated, and then you can update those.
A lot of apps, when you download them onto your phone, you agree to auto updates when you're clicking those buttons to
Yeah.
get the app
Mhm.
installed. So a
And-
lot of them you're agreeing to that.
A lot of your
from the
places,
get-go.
like especially your fast food places, do you have our map? Are you gonna use our app? How necessary are those?
It's really up to you. For me, it saves me a lot of money for
It's
the
usually
places
they'll
that I
have
go
good
to
deals.
regularly, where you can get good deals or you can get free stuff every so many times that you use it. But it's really up to you. Like,
I have the Pizza Hut app, and so every time I make a purchase, I get a certain amount of points, and then once I get a certain amount of points, I get free stuff. So if you're eating at certain places a lot, it might be nice to have that app because they might have those deals. But if you're not eating out a whole bunch,
I have 3 children, so the McDonald's app is very good. Like I get free stuff, like I can get a free kids meal every once in a while and stuff. So I mean, it adds up, but also you can get good deals. Like sometimes they have $2 breakfast sandwiches, and a breakfast sandwich nowadays costs like $6. So
Okay.
you can get good deals on them. It's really just a personal preference. If it's
Okay,
something
I
that
was
you
just
want to
curious, and
have,
you go
I've
there and-
definitely told friends, I'm like, you don't have that app, like parent friends of mine, I'm like, you need to get that app. It will save you a lot of money.
because yeah, nowadays most restaurants, stores, anything, they all have their apps.
Yeah.
And so unless
Yeah.
you're frequently using it and want to use that,
Mhm.
otherwise it is just going to take up space on your phone. So if you're not going to use it a whole lot, don't even
Okay,
download
that's my
it.
question
Yeah.
though, 'cause I didn't know if it's just taking up space and I didn't.
So, privacy settings are also important. That is another thing that you'll access within your settings. So you can decide what apps have access to your information. So, like with the McDonald's app, usually it's going to ask you for your location because it wants to know which McDonald's you're going to be eating at. Or sometimes it'll want access to your microphone if it's something where you could talk or different things like that. So, being able to change those settings, so like let's say you did download the McDonald's app and you said agree to location sharing, and then you're like, you know what, I don't want to share my location with them. You can change that, and so you'll go into your settings, and so then up here, this one has a little donut shape. If you click on that, it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this, and you can click on privacy. Oh, let's go back. Oh no. So once you've clicked on that privacy, it's going to show you every app you have downloaded. And if you click on that app, it's going to tell you what permissions you have. So like if you are allowing the location or the microphone or anything like that. So if you want to make those changes, you can. The one thing is certain apps will require that you have those permissions.
And
So
you won't
like,
be able to change it.
so like, I don't know for sure with McDonald's, but it might be something where for you to use the app, you have to let it have your location. And
That
so,
makes sense.
Yeah.
and so just kind of knowing that if you deny, it might be like, oh, well, you can't use this app then. So just being aware of that before you turn off.
A lot of apps nowadays give you the option to like allow those permissions only while using the app. Like you can't have my location all of the time. You can only have my location when I physically open the app. But you also have to keep in mind if you leave the app running in the background. But a lot of apps do that nowadays because they understand that people don't want to give that permission all the time.
And so especially, I mean, if it's a trusted app, it's usually not something you have to worry about. But again, it's sometimes if you're downloading apps that you're unsure of, you might not want to give that information because who knows what they might be using it for. So just being aware of that. Also, accessibility is something that you can change in your settings. So if you're wanting to either have it read like text to you, make text bigger or smaller, if you want to be able to use your microphone to talk, to have it type stuff in, those are all things that are going to be in your accessibility. So you'd click on settings and then you would scroll to accessibility, and in there you would be able to make any of those changes. I know we had a lot of people in our Apple class that wanted to make
Bigger
their
text,
bigger. So that would be something you would do within that setting too. And so again, that's all based to your personal preference, depending on what you want. So let's see, which of these two apps seems more trusted?
The one on the right, it's got more stars.
Yeah, you can see this one has 4.7 stars, which is really good, but this one only has 2 stars. Let's see.
And then it has how many people? 80 people
Okay.
have downloaded that. And it has a 2-star review versus 95,000 people.
Oh my.
So
And also reading those reviews. Sometimes like I have an app that has like 2 stars because certain things don't work, but it might be something that's not what I'm using. So like let's say, because like with mine, it's you can read books and you can read audiobooks. People have a lot of problems reading the books, but the audiobook part works. So the ratings are really
Yeah.
bad, but I'm only using it for audiobooks. So it's like
Works
it's
for
fine
you.
because
Yeah.
the part that I need is working. And so
Sure.
sometimes it's important to read through those reviews and see what is working and what isn't working. Because especially if it says like the app isn't working at all, you wouldn't want to download it. Or if it's like people are saying they leaked my information or something, another reason you wouldn't want to download that app. So figuring out why that rating is what it is important.
And also, I mean, when you're looking at how many people have downloaded those apps, sometimes that's helpful. Like if you have like a child or grandchild that's like, hey, you should really get this app. It's really popular. It works really well, whatever. And you search for it and it gives you several different options and you don't know which one is the one that they're telling you to download. Sometimes knowing that, oh, 80 people have downloaded it, that's probably not the one I'm looking for.
So on your phone, you get this alert that says job interview 11 a.m. What might be a problem about this?
You might not know which interview you're scheduled for one thing.
Potentially. Another thing is anyone can see this. So when you're getting a message, so like let's say you're at work and it pops up saying you have a job interview. If
And
like,
you're
your
talking to your
is
boss
right
and
next
your
to you,
phone is
they're
right
gonna
there.
see that. And so that is something you can also change in your settings, whether or not you want alerts to pop up on that main page, or if you don't want to be able to see them until you actually unlock your phone. Also, like with text messages, you can change it to where it might just say like text from mom or something, but it won't show the actual message until you open up your phone. Just another privacy thing where you might not want anyone to have access to that. Especially if you do lose your phone, anyone could open it up and just be scrolling through all of your recent notifications and see anything that's going on. So depending on what kind of privacy settings you want, you can make those adjustments in your settings. So a couple of security tips, like we had mentioned, set a passcode on each of your devices. So if you have like tablets or anything like that at home, or even computers, making sure you have those passwords on it just to make sure that no one else can get that information.
That
Download,
means a different passcode for each device.
I mean, generally,
Yeah,
but
you could use the same one on each of your
I was gonna
devices
say-
if it's something more secure and
Okay.
so that you remember it.
Like your thumb or your
Yeah.
face or.
because yeah, that's the thing. If you have everything with the same password, then if one person knows that password, they have access to everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's up to you. Generally,
My
I mean-
husband would tell you not to, and I would say do it.
I was saying, I
Password
use
on
the same
everything.
password for everything, but yeah. it
If
just
your
depends on
password is,
security.
if your problem is remembering stuff, use the same one. You're gonna have a lot less problems.
Yeah,
Makes
so.
sense.
Also, like we said, download only trusted apps. You don't want to download something that might not work right or might take your information. So make sure you're reading those reviews and seeing those ratings. Review your privacy settings. So again, go into your settings app, scroll through and see what kind of settings you have. There might be things that you want to change or make different because they're all personal preference. So making sure you regularly just kind of look and see what settings you have. Because or if there's something you're like, why is it doing this? I don't want to do it. It's probably something you can change. And again, if you can't figure out how, book a librarian session with one of us or give us a call and we can try our best to help change those as well. Adjusting your notifications to see what appears on your lock screen. Again, like with that job interview, being able to control what shows up on your lock screen versus what you need to use your password to be able to see. And then check that apps and operating systems are up to date, making sure your apps are up to date and making sure your phone is up to date. Your phone will have regular updates. It'll usually send you a message saying like your phone needs to be updated, or sometimes it'll be like your phone will update at this time on this date. So those are needed because if you don't update your phone, it'll generally not be working right. So
And
making
it could
sure
be less secure. Like a lot of times they do updates to increase the security of the device. So
yeah, if you're getting those notifications that stuff need to be updated, go ahead and do that because it'll help you more than it'll hurt you. So that's all the main things we're gonna go over today. If you have specific questions that you want us to help you with, we definitely can. Otherwise, again, if you think of something as soon as you get home, write it down and then give us a call and set up an appointment with one of us. Either of us can help you, but also any of the staff here can. Again,
we're all
If-
pretty tech savvy.
yeah, again though, if you do want to make sure that you're meeting with someone who also has an Android, make sure to let us know that that's the type of phone you have so we can have someone that's better equipped to do that. We wouldn't want to send you with one of our Apple people. But do you guys have any specific questions right now that?
Yeah, I want to change the length of time before this thing pops
Yes.
off.
I can't get to
So
mine.
let's open your phone back up.
So
we go to
is that
settings.
now you have, so enter your password because you
Oh,
did that password. So there's like a little lock.
Settings.
Like if I hit this, you see that little lock, just swipe up from that lock and then you can enter the password that you created.
It's an emergency call and I thought, "Oh,
Yeah, I suppose if you weren't sure what that screen was, that would kind of worry you. And
Do you
then
know
should just be
off the
able-
top of your head, Cassie, which
Your device. Oh, check mark.
that's another thing I want to do.
Yeah, we can look at that. Okay, enter your password one more time and then hit that purple check mark.
do you know off the top of your head when to get it so your phone doesn't turn off right away? Which
Um,
one is?
Let's see. I think yours is timing control. Let's see.
I mean, while we were talking, it kept going off every,
Yeah.
felt like 5
Okay,
seconds.
so this is time.
Let's see.
I think this is what you want. What do you want to set that?
Oh, there
There's
was screen
something
time
else
out.
Okay, we'll try that.
So yeah, so right now it's set at 30 seconds.
Okay, let's,
So
I think 1 minute or
1 minute.
1 or 2 minutes would be.
Either one, whichever one you prefer.
Let's start with 1 minute, and if it's not enough, now I know where to go.
Yep. And so that's the nice thing too, having that search.
I think.
If you can't find it within all those folders, just
Let's
typing
just see
in
if it
something, it'll
stays
show
on
you
a
a bunch of
little bit
options
longer.
there.
Okay.
Try it.
But yeah, so now it'll take 2 minutes before it'll
Okay,
turn off there, so I'll give you a
Okay.
little bit more time.
Okay,
It already seems.
so I suppose I should put a security thing in it too, so.
Yeah, I think.
And I used to have something that would like make a little ding or something when I got a text message, and that is gone.
Okay, so
Letters are cold.
I know, I have very cold hands. My fiance always gives me a hard time about that.
It should be great in the summertime, but. I know we were there before.
Just trying to remember what it was called. Lock screen, there we go. So then screen lock type, so then there, that's where you can, so if you want like a 4-digit thing or.
Yeah,
if you
that's
want
what I
to-
would start with.
Perfect.
It might be under.
And I think it'll have you put in a few times to make sure that it's got it correct there.
So that, your default